Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage. Mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaronism here with an interesting video for you. Let's talk quickly about Edward Alexander Crowley, aka Aleister Crowley, aka Frater Perdurabo, aka the Great Beast, 666. He's the English occultist, mystic, Taoist, ceremonial magician, poet, mountaineer, shaman, and the founder of the Thelemite philosophy, who saw himself as a prophet who is entrusted with informing humanity that we were entering the new eon of Horus in the early 20th century. Now, how much do we actually know about him? How much has been said about him in truth, and how much is lies to keep you away? Sometimes the best thing you can do is look at what he wrote and base your opinions on his words. Otherwise, you might simply dismiss information which might help you in your search for truth. Now, I've read some of Crowley, and he had a crazy side, no doubt. Did he invoke an otherworldly being to help him dictate his writing of the Book of the Law? No, I doubt it. He later wrote Equinox of the Gods, and he then believed that the entity Aiwass, who he had said earlier was this god that he channeled to write his book, was actually a man as he was. And the Book of the Law, said to be inspired by Aiwass the minister, is actually an anagram for I sin, I was the master. When the Book of the Law is studied, it can be seen to be a set of ciphers and riddles meant to conceal the lost words of the Temple of Solomon, which Crowley claimed to have discovered while researching the Zohar and Freemasonry. So in my mind, anyone who dismisses reading any of his work is not really looking for the truth. They're just looking for what they want to find and an easy way to write him off. So when I see directions for rituals or invoking instructions, those are easy for me to skip right over, as I have no interest in selling my soul or using powers or spirits or impregnating my wife with the secret Babylon demon child. I'll pass. But when you do read some of what he has to say, you might be shocked by some of the gems you might find. One of the good things about him is he said, "Don't believe me. Do your own research." That's much better than the many people who tell us, "Believe me. I have all the truth. I have all the facts." No need to do any research. I've already done it for you. It's been peer-reviewed. Look at my credentials and my diplomas. Yeah, fantastic. Way to go. And humans went to the moon, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're real smart. Oh, and evolution backed by all that proof and evidence? Yeah, intellectual indeed. In the description, I'm going to be linking the book Magic Without Tears, and I wanted to read a quick bit of it to show you it seems that he had a pretty good grasp on where it is that we live. So yeah, he studied the Zohar, which is the foundational work in the literature of the Jewish mystical thought known as the Kabbalah, and he did go on to found his own occult society, the AA, which can mean lots of things: Argentium Astrum, or Astron Argeron, or Aric Anpin, or Arcanum Arcanorum, which means secret of the secrets, or Angel and Abyss, or I've even heard Atlantean Adepts. Call it what you will, it is a magical method of spiritual attainment, or what Crowley called scientific illuminism. Regardless, he is without much argument the most influential occultist of all time. But don't think of scientific illuminism in a scientism sort of way. Crowley had a lot of anti-science to say. Just like Jack Parsons, they were into some pretty wacko stuff: sex magic, invocations, conjuring, remote sensing, psychic clairvoyance, extrasensory perception, and everything else you can possibly imagine. But some things he writes certainly makes you think that he said some things that would cause the powers that shouldn't be to describe him as Satan or the devil incarnate. This way, you don't read. And as he writes in chapter 29 of Magic Without Tears regarding the dangers of so-called scientific fact, that when we settle in on facts, we close our minds to everything else, which is obviously what has happened to the scientism world. So I'm going to read chapter 36. It's pretty short. Again, if you want to read more, the link is in the description. To buy the book, though, you're going to need to be rich. Or you can just start a Flat Earth YouTube channel and you'll be rich pretty quick. Missa! Where's my caviar?
Just ask the chef.
Oh boy. I hate that chef. Anyway, you can see here that a 1954 first edition is $3,000 on eBay. Or here's one for $2,000 on Biblio. or you can get one, a more recent copy for like $100 or $200, or you can read it for free in the link below. Or you can call him Satan and not read a word. Totally up to you. The book consists of Crowley answering 80 questions asked by his female students, so each letter is addressed to Kara Soror, which means sister of the sorority. In my opinion, you can get a great view into the world of the magical philosophy, and it's really an entertaining read. The candidness with which he writes makes people wonder why he was ever so cryptic in his other books, but also you can tell he was kind of learning as he went, and he answers questions pertaining to the OTO, Book of the Law, his ideas on meditation, yoga, and even possibly flat Earth?
Huh?
Let's see. Here comes chapter 36.
Kara Soror. We settled what gods, angels, demons, and elementals were some little while ago. We also wrote of how they live, so now, insatiable seeker, you ask where. But surely, even as a child, did you not sing that immemorial Gregorian plain chant? There's a friend for little children above the bright blue sky. Simple enough, a nice flat earth. Sun, moon, stars, planets, satellites hung up to dry, with occasional meteorites and comets jazzing about to vary the monotony. Above all that, this bright blue floor, based upon records and advertisements for the Riviera. Just like that, and above that again, the Jew jeweler's hashish dream of heaven, see the apocalypse, a vulgarization of Baudelaire's still shining mirror world. How right Rome was when she put her foot down on great Galileo and his upstart kind. But she did not do the job properly. She should have brewed a bogus bogey tale to frighten people off astronomy forever. But perhaps it was already too late. The mischief had struck roots too deep for her. What had these wizards wrought? Those lovely medieval charts celestial that still enchant us by sheer beauty and sublimity had been made a mockery by those sinister adepts of sorcery. No more flat earth on 4 pillars? On. In India, the earth was supported by an elephant who stood on a tortoise, who, no floor above, nothing but empty space with swarming galaxies, no room for heaven, simpler to call Olympus or Meru the home of the gods. Believe it or not, don't ask questions. Yet all the time the difficulty is of our own silly making. The most elementary consideration of the nature of the gods, angels, demons, and the rest is shown by the peculiar faculties, stamps them all instantly as beings pertaining to more than 3 dimensions. Just as no number of lines is enough to produce the smallest plane, as a cube is capable of containing an infinite number of squares, so far from there being no room for heaven, there is absolutely nothing but room. Yet, of course, the nature of that space is forever incomprehensible, nay, inconceivable, by any being of a lower dimension. Only when we have succeeded in uniting our conscious 3-dimension with our unconscious 4th-dimensional self can we expect even a symbolic conception of how things go on in them fern parts. Speculation on such points is unpardonably profitless. I have only devoted these few paragraphs to the subject because it is useful to rebuke the somewhat soapbox type of critic who thinks to rebut the whole thesis sunt demonis by the snook cockery query quo stet Olympus.
Aleister Crowley, Magic Without Tears, Chapter 36, 1954. Yeah, well, they gave Copernicus an inch and a little more for Big G Galileo, and soon came Newton, and all of a sudden, we got a magic act all right. Jupiter's so big, you can put 1,300 Earths inside it. And look at Saturn's rings, made of ice water and rocky stuff that assemble based on color and stay in perfect orbit, never degrading. Just being rings. Now that is magic. And what about the moon? Think of the brightness of the moon and the inverse square law of light. Just think of that. I mean, if you're on the moon, and we've seen pictures supposedly, so think of how bright the moon is from Earth. If we were at 166,000 miles, it'd be double the brightness. And then at 116,000 miles, double the brightness again. And then at 81,000 miles, double the brightness again. And 57,000 and 40,000 and 28,000 and 19,000 and 13,000, 9,000, 6,000, all those would be double the brightness. Is that what we see in moon landing photos? they would be standing on a light bulb. That's what it should look like. But anyway, maybe that's why Buzz got evacuated from Antarctica, because he remembered he's supposed to be blind, or he suddenly remembered where he was July 21st, 1969, and got sick to his stomach. Anyway, yeah, that's today's magic, and boy, do they have people fooled. Yep, we're all made of star stuff, and there's 10 sextillion stars, and they're all suns.
And that's the bottom line. Why?
Because Neil deGrasse said so. So while many may call Mr. Crowley a scary devil worshipper or a madman, and they might be right, some say a genius. Jimmy Page said, "I feel Aleister Crowley is a misunderstood genius of the 20th century, because his whole thing was liberation of the person, of the entity, and that restrictions would foul up, lead us to frustration, which leads us to violence, criminal, mental breakdown, depending on what sort of makeup you have underneath. The further this age we're in now gets into technology and alienation, a lot of the points he's made seem to manifest themselves all down the line." He did seem to know what was coming. In Book of the Law, he said, "Every new measure of the most democratic and autocratic governments is communistic in essence. It is always restriction. We are all treated as imbecile children. The motoring laws, Sunday suffocation, the censorship, they won't trust us to cross the roads at will. Fascism is like communism, and dishonest into the bargain. The dictators suppress all art, literature, theater, music, news that does not meet their requirements, yet the world only moves by light of the genius. The herd will be destroyed in mass." Then again, he also said, "I was not content to believe in a personal devil and serve him, in the ordinary sense of the word. I wanted to get a hold of him personally and become his chief of staff." So, all in all, do I agree with his methods and all his choices? No, not at all. But do I thank him for his absolute madness? Yep, I do. So, check out the book if you want. If not, then don't. But I do agree with Crowley at least on his opinion of space. It isn't for us to know. It's inconceivable for us. Possibly another dimension. But someone told us they do know. They told us exactly what it is, and it's just a vacuum with like 10 sextillion suns, and no one will ever reach any one of them. I guess we're just a big cosmic accident. So before all of us get eaten by worms, be kind, don't lie, and open your mind, because there's truth inside. Till next time, peace! Otherwise, you might simply dismiss information which might help you in your search for truth. Now, I've read some of Crowley, and he had a crazy side, no doubt. Did he invoke an otherworldly being to help him dictate his writing of the Book of the Law? No, I doubt it. He later wrote Equinox of the Gods, and he then believed that the entity Aiwass, who saw himself as a prophet, who is entrusted with informing humanity that we were entering the new eon of Horus in the early 20th century. Now, how much do we actually know about him? How much has been said about him in truth, and how much is lies to keep you away? Sometimes the best thing you can do is look at what he wrote, and base your opinions on his words.
Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage. Mirage.
Said earlier was this God that he channeled to write his book was actually a man as he was. And the Book of the Law, said to be inspired by Aiwass the minister, is actually an anagram for I sin, I was the master. When the Book of the Law is studied, it can be seen to be a set of ciphers and riddles meant to conceal the lost words of the Temple of Solomon, which Crowley claimed. What's going on, everyone? It's Jaronism, here with an interesting video for you. Let's talk quickly about Edward Alexander Crowley, aka Aleister Crowley, aka Frater Perdurabo, aka the Great Beast, 666. He's the English occultist, mystic, Taoist, ceremonial magician, poet, mountaineer, shaman, and the founder of the Thelemite philosophy.